Hello, today we're going to look at upgrading the cooling system. As you know, the cooling system usually fits here on a little plastic piece with a screw aimed about there, and I found it only works when the boat's actually moving in water. Not good enough most of the time, because these things cost a fair bit of dough and you burn them out if the cooling system isn't working more efficiently. So the upgrade is pretty simple. Number one, you find a little bit of TV antenna or radio antenna, and you make it the same size or just a little larger than the hole in the standard tube. I don't recall what it is offhand. I think I'll get the calipers on it later, but it's not overly large. And you grind a 45 degree, or not 45, you grind about a 5mm hole on it by making an angled cut with a grinder or on a grinder, and filing it through the middle and the outside, and then putting the standard cable tie here and adding some glue on each side just to hold it to the cable tie. It doesn't need much strength to stay still, but avoid interfering with the movement of the rudder top and bottom. Make it a little longer than the rudder top, so you've got somewhere to put the plastic. Now, I cut the plastic off because I don't know where to get any. I tend to use this stuff, and then I've cut a little bit more antenna to, as you can see, make little joiners in here to join the pipes. And to start with this mod, after you've installed your little piece of metal here, you need to drill a hole in the boat, because we're going to make this the exit point and we're going to make this the entrance point, something like that. So it's important you get a very small drill first and drill a hole directly, and it will move around, so guess it for center and just hold your finger there. Have a look how you went. Looks pretty good. By the way, make sure there are no wires inside there in the way of the drilling before you start. Okay, now it's just time to upgrade the drill size. Do not make it as loose as this, because it'll only leak. That's the original hole. We want to stay below that, and you got the drill size. You measure this and sort of look at them and say, well, that's still less, so that should be safe. Anything below that should be safe. So here we go. Pretty easy if you've got to drill it fast enough. If you have a drill too slow, you could be in trouble. Just keep increasing the drill sizes a little bit. Until you get to the size you require. And as I said before, it shouldn't, if you lay them on the table, the drill size should not be any higher than your pipe, otherwise you're going to go too big. Pretty well like that. Now, once that's achieved, you will have a hole like this in there. You'll take your pipe up with another joiner if necessary to whatever pipe you may have, Great idea if you've already blown up some motors is to remove the motor out of the boat and basically remove this black part. And how that's done is pretty simple. You just take the motor like this. Here we go. You take the motor like this. You're gonna love this. I don't have a screwdriver handy, but an example is you take the motor like this, you put a bit of metal like this here, like that, and then you use a claw hammer like this just underneath the plastic section, just there, and you go voila. It will just slide straight off if you've got it in the right place. And then the second movement is to take the brass geared section off the shaft exactly the same way, and once you've achieved that, in putting them back on, you lean this shaft on the table, you lightly tap your brass section on so there's a little bit of a space like it is now, and then you put your black one back on over the brass so that the brass is still showing a little bit. Done. You can do this to a new engine if you like. Anyway, as you see, the plumbing's simple. The intake comes from here, goes through there into that one, then does a loop, which is the original pipe that used to go over here, which I've got some blue tack on, goes into the second one, comes back towards the center, and then comes out through the extension of the original intake pipe. Simple as that. Now you can hold this in the bathtub, which you couldn't do before without breaking the motor, but now you can hold this in the bathtub and test the engine and test everything, and the water will come through this little tube here even at low speed. The motor's no longer getting hot. I shouldn't have to buy my fourth one. By the way, any other mods worth talking about? Silicone up along the back of the boat because it seems to have a little bit of leak possibility there. Put a little bit of glue on these for strength. Put a little bit of glue, as I said, on the bottom only of the cable tie here. Use a standard cable tie. Hold it by using a pair of side cutters with the thin part here over the top of the square, and pull it with pliers on the other side, holding against yourself. Try not to break these off. They're only just embedded in a very weak bit of plastic at the back of the boat. There is no nut on the inside, so very easily broken. This one actually came with the threads stripped, overdone, and I just put some glue on them and screwed them back in, and now I rely more on the outside than the inside. And in the process of me breaking a servo by bumping this, I also snapped off this little top corner, which I've re-glued. Maybe I'll order one of those later, but if this boat had standard unbroken screws, fitting a new one would be easy, but because it's all glued together, I don't know, I'll bother. If it doesn't break, I won't bother replacing them at this stage. I've tested this motor haven't been able to manage to make this motor. I'll just show you that. There's the motor. Okay. I haven't been able to manage to make this unit heat up yet, so it's working. Also, a little bit of glue on the shaft here lets you then later lubricate the shaft by simply using that as an oil well and tipping some oil in here and letting it sit there for a moment, and then later on you can spin the motor up. It will lube the shaft for you without leaking out the other side here. So that's how you give this thing some oil. By the way, I might have missed a little bit. It's running through the boat. Don't worry about that. Okay, So now you know how to lube the shaft quickly, how to increase the water through this boat's cooling system by, as you can see, at least twofold compared to the original, and hopefully you won't be buying any more motors. Good luck.